Hello, everyone. Thank you for tuning in once again to The Well. I'm excited. I have my guest here, Candie Simmons. She is the owner of CL Simmons Consulting. She has 16 years of financial planning. And I'm excited to bring to her today because there's so many people who need to know about how to manage your finances, how to budget, how to learn about your 401ks, things that can add to your life and add wealth and even generational wealth. So she is going to give a presentation. This is a little bit out of our norm, what we normally do. I know you all are used to me asking questions and they answer in return, but she's going to give a presentation. I know it's going to be good. I know it's going to be very knowledgeable. And before she begins, she's just going to tell you all a little bit about herself and her background, and then she's going to dive into the presentation. And so I know you all are going to enjoy it, and I'm just going to step aside and I'm going to let her have the floor.
All right. Well, thank you, Vicki. Um, well, hello. I'm Candie Simmons, just as Vicki said, and I have spent most of my professional life in the financial industry. And I've also served in capacities as a treasurer for multiple nonprofit organizations. When it comes to working with numbers, I'm a nerd. And so I really like numbers. And what's really passionate to me is making sure that everyone else understands how to manage their personal finances. So for me, my first job at the age of 15, I learned about the importance of savings. My dad told me, he said, Candy, every time you get a paycheck, take 20% off the top and set it aside and forget about it. And so what we call that is pay yourself first. And what you want to do with paying yourself first, you want to take that 20% off the top. 10% you don't really ever want to touch. And then the other 10%, they're for what we call rainy days. Because what happens? Life happens to all of us. Not too long ago, I took my car to the shop for an oil change, and we know how that story goes. You go to the shop for an oil change, and then they find other things that are wrong with your car. And so they told me that I was going to need new tires. And I was like, okay, well, I'll come back. I went back a couple of weeks later, dropped my car off to get the new tires. Then I get a phone call. I needed new brakes. So I went from spending $1 amount to three times the amount before that day was over. No, it did not make me feel good at all because I was not planning to spend that type of money. But this is the thing, I've always set 20% aside. And so I was prepared financially. And whenever you're prepared financially, it makes it a little bit easier to get through and to pay those expenses that happen when life happens. So what I was able to do is I was able to pull that money out of my savings account, pay for my car, and keep it moving because it didn't touch the money that was in my main account. So it's very important to have multiple accounts. It is a lot to keep up with. If you're one of those that likes to go to a payday lender or you like to cash your check when you get it and put it in your pocket, don't do that anymore. Because one, when you go to a payday lender, you're giving your money away because they're going to charge you interest on getting that money. And you don't want to have to do that. So I would encourage anybody, if you do not already have a checking account, go get a checking account. You want to get a checking account and allow that money to sit in the bank because it's easier for you to manage. You're not as likely to spend it as often or as quickly. And it's just a safer place to keep your money. And so, as I said, in addition to having a checking account, you also want to have a savings account. And the purpose of that savings account is to prepare and to save for rainy days. And that's just the basic of finances and managing your money is to get started like that. Another thing I want to talk to you about is how to budget. So, what you should do is look at what are your monthly expenses, add up all of your expenses, your house note, or if you have rent for an apartment, car note, insurance, your utilities, cell phone, whatever you spend money on a monthly basis. I want you to add all of that up. Then what I want you to do is I want you to look at your income. Now, are those expenses more than your income? If they are, then what? We have a problem. So what you need to do is you need to look at those expenses and what are some things that you can cut. If you have Netflix, Hulu, if you have Xfinity cable, if you have all of that, then you need to start cutting some of those things because those are things that are not necessities. Those are wants. So it's very important to make sure that your expenses are less than your income because you want to have money left over. Now, whenever you get paid each time, just like I said, be sure to pay yourself first. And you're going to take that 20%. My rule has always been 20%. But if you've never saved or if your expenses are outweighing your income, then you're not going to be able to start there. But what I would encourage you to do is to start somewhere when it comes to saving money. So if you can't do 20%, try 10%. I will tell you, my first job out of college, I wasn't making a whole lot of money, and I was only able to pay $50 per. I was only able to save $50 per paycheck, and so that's what I did. I took $50 per paycheck and I put it in my savings account. As my income started to increase, then I was able to work my way to setting aside 20%. And so that's what I've always done. You take that 20%, you set it aside. And then what it does is it allows you to pay cash for a car at some point years down the road. It allows you to have a significant amount for a down payment on a house. Having a savings account and paying yourself first, what it does is it gives you power. It gives you financial power. And that's what I really want to do is I want to empower you to get that power so that when your car does break down or you need a new set of tires, it doesn't feel like such a detriment because you have a fund that's specific to that. Now, many of us work for companies that we can contribute to our company's retirement plan. Used to be called 401k. That's what a lot of companies used to call it. Now, that's not necessarily the name. It could just be called a retirement plan. If you're in the state of Mississippi, it's called PERS. And so, whatever that retirement plan is with your organization, you need to invest in it. The reason why is because a lot of companies or organizations, when you invest in the retirement plan, they are going to match your contribution up to a certain dollar amount. And you might as well go ahead and get that free contribution. In essence, you're working for the company. They're going to add that money to that account on your behalf because you're an employee. The key is when you invest that money, just leave it there. Don't look at it. Act like it doesn't even exist because you don't want to touch your investment, your retirement account until you're actually ready to retire. So that's why you have to have that savings account. So whatever you invest within your company's investment retirement account, whatever it's called, that is separate from that 20% that I'm asking you to save as well. And I'm sure by now you're like, now wait a minute, how much am I going to have to spend on things? Well, we have to make some sacrifices in life in order to prepare for the future. And so that's what I want you to really think about. What are some things that I can do without? Do I really need a new pair of shoes? Do I really need that new outfit? Do I really need another streaming service? No, we don't have to have those things. Go ahead and start managing your finances, looking at the things that you need to do, cut those expenses so that you can prepare for long term. All right, the next topic that I want to talk to you about is the importance of insurance. It is a necessary evil, but it does protect us. And what I mean by that, you need to have health insurance, car insurance, homeowners insurance, renters insurance, pretty much whatever type of insurance is that's made available to you, I would encourage you to get. Here's why. Car insurance. We're glad to have it when we do. Not too long ago, I was in Memphis and I was going to do a presentation. Came out an hour later, go to my parking space. There was nothing there but my windshield. My car was stolen. It was gone. not a good feeling. But I had insurance. And so luckily, they found my car a couple hours later on the side of the road. My window was busted. They really were just, they went through my glove compartment. Wasn't much of anything damaged other than whenever I did go to get my window fixed, the button to press for the window to go up and down, that was damaged and the antenna was damaged. But other than that, my car was fine. But here's the thing, I had to go pay to get my car out of the tow lot, and I had to pay the towing fee. I had to pay a fee for my car to be on the lot. Then I had to have somebody come and re-key my car. And so, in order for me to just drive off the lot, and my car still has a broken window, I still haven't gotten anything fixed, I had to spend about $450 that day. Then, I call the insurance company, file a claim, talk about what's happened, need to get it fixed. And so they told me that I could go ahead and spend the money to get it fixed. And then I just need to hold on to my receipts and they would reimburse me. Well, that was good for me because I had that 20% that I talked about earlier. I was able to pull from that to pay those expenses to get my car fixed. And I didn't have to wait on the insurance company. I didn't have to wait by calling the phone and pressing all the buttons and then waiting for the person who's been assigned to my claim to talk to them. I was able to go ahead and spend that money knowing I was going to get my money back. But quite frankly, by the time I actually got all of everything fixed with my car, I was out of $2,000. Now, that was $2,000 out of my pocket that I did get back, but it was because I had insurance. I was able to get my money back. But then also, I was not handicapped by waiting on the insurance company for that money because I had what? That 20% set aside. So I would encourage you to get insurance. It is one of those things that it's better to have it than not to have it at all. Now, when it comes to investing, there are a couple of pointers that I want to give you about when investing your money. I talked earlier about the easiest way to invest, and that's through your company. Investing through your company definitely is the easiest way, probably the safest way. But some other things that you can do, you can have that 20% in a savings account. Savings accounts don't really earn any interest, it's very minimal. So if you're pretty good with managing your money, or even if you're not good with managing your money, once you get that savings account built up to, I would say, about 6 months of living expenses, some of that money, what you could do is invest it into a CD or a high interest money market account, something that is a short term investment, but will have a nice return on your money. Right now, you'll probably find some CDs and money markets paying around the 3 to 3.25, 3.50 range. You may find something at 4, but it won't be offered very long. I know not too long ago, I was able to find a high interest money market account that was paying 4, but it was paying 4% probably for about 3 months, and then it's reduced over time. And so now it's probably about 3.25 that it's paying on that money. But I'm still earning interest. It's just not, banks are not really paying a lot of high interest rates because we're living in a tough economy. And so that definitely impacts the rates that are being paid on the money that is deposited into these financial institutions. But that's another way, it's a safe way for you to invest your money. If you want to invest in stock, people ask me all the time, what are the best stocks to invest in? It really depends on what is your appetite for risk. And so this is the last topic that I'm going to cover. So just keep on listening. When it comes to appetite for risk, whenever you talk to a financial advisor, you're going to go and they're going to ask you a series of questions. They're going to want to understand at what age do you want to retire? When you retire, what type of livelihood do you want to have? Do you want to have the same type of livelihood you have now? Do you want to have a better livelihood? Do you hope to have your house paid off? Are you going to want to spend time taking trips? They're going to want to understand what type of lifestyle you want to have when you retire, because that's what's going to help them determine your portfolio when it comes to investing into stock. because depending upon your age, how much risk you're willing to endure is going to depend upon where your money is going to be invested. Of course, the more risk you're willing to take, the more opportunity you have to earn a greater return on your money. But you've got to leave that money invested on average, probably about 10 years to really see, because it's going to go up and it's going to go down. It's going to go up and it's going to go down. And that's why I say when you invest, walk away, don't look at it, because it's going to go up and it's going to go down. But if it's money that you're able to have invested for 20, 30, 40 years, then I wouldn't worry about it, because you will continue to see your money on average have a increase that is going to yield a higher return for you on the overall time frame that that money is invested. Now, if you want to play it a little bit safer, and usually that's going to be for people who are closer to retirement, you're going to invest more so in cash and bonds and things that are not going to be so fickle when it comes to the market. Technology, anything in the tech industry, that's definitely, going to move in the right direction, because technology changes by the day. A lot of times what I tell people are, look at the companies that you have an interest in, that you shop, where you shop, and or maybe where you eat, the food chains and different things like that. Look at how they've been performing over the past 5 to 10 years. And if on average they've been yielding a return that's probably, I would say, 6, 7%, 8%, then you're doing better than investing into a money market or a CD, because just like I said, those are only paying no more than about 4. And every now and then you'll find something that's paying a little bit higher. But as you can see, I can talk about this all day long. And so I've given you a lot to think about. But just the first thing is to look at your expenses and make sure that your expenses are not outweighing your income. And be sure to always pay yourself first. Thank you.
Thank you, Candie, for those empowering words, because I love how when you first started out, you talked about that having that knowledge and control of your finances gives you power.
Mm-hmm.
And it makes you not be a prisoner to someone.
Mm-hmm.
And for someone who's trying to test the waters, I know I said I was going to ask any questions, but I do have one question. That want to try to maybe get into investing, what should they look for in a financial person or someone to invest their money with?
If you're looking to invest your money, what I would do is, whomever you're banking with, I would go to the bank, because they already have your relationship, your checking or your savings account or whatever. And you want to build a relationship with a financial institution so that they can be familiar with what your account looks like, your deposits and all of that, because they can help advise you on what's going to work best for you, because they can already kind of see your habits. And so when you go to that financial institution, you just let them know that, hey, I would like to talk to someone about investments. And then they will refer you to somebody that's in their department that can talk to you about managing your investments.
Okay. Well, everyone, I know that you all got some great information. And again, I thank you all for tuning in to this session of The Well. And as always, I wish you well, and know that we're going to, as always, have information for you to contact Miss Candie if you have any questions or need any further financial advice. Have a good evening.